Hello, everybody, and welcome to another day at Live at the Waterhole. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and I'm so happy to be hosting these wonderful elephants today, and I suppose everybody else that's watching. But these are the real stars of the show right in front of us. Now, I firstly just want to apologize. There were some technical gremlins, and that's why we started a little bit late. But hopefully, that's the end of it for today, as it's looking like a rather lovely day in Madikwe Game Reserve in South Africa. But as you know, this is a live and interactive safari show, a waterhole show, and we fondly refer to anybody watching this as pond peepers. Uh, that's a funny story. I'll tell that a bit later. But if you didn't know that this was live and interactive, well, now you do. And there are a couple of different ways that you can chat to me, and then in a bit, Amy will be taking over. You can head over to the WildEarth website and look out for the question box there. Alternatively, if you're watching on the YouTube chat, that's only going to be available for an hour and 20 minutes, though. You can use the live chat there. Otherwise, head on over to Twitter or X and remember to hashtag WildEarth so that we can see your questions. And of course, I'm so glad that we're starting at Jamala and that there doesn't seem to be too many clouds in the sky, because at least we can see a bit of blue. It looks nice and bright, which is great. We've had doomy, gloomy days over the last little while, so it's nice. The temperatures are just going to start increasing once again. We always complain so much about the heat, and then when the rain comes, then we complain about the wind and the rain and the cold. No pleasing us. But speaking of weather, let's go and check out what it's going to be at the various locations. Well, it looks like Okukuyo in Namibia is going to be the hottest of the lot. We're reaching 37 degrees Celsius. I am thankful that our temperatures at the moment are much cooler than that. But because they have warmed up and the clouds have dispersed and the rain has stopped, that means the animals are going to be gathering around the water holes once again, which is great for us. And we're watching a group of elephants, a couple of different herds, coming in to have a drink. Perfect timing. And when we wanted to start the show, as we always do, there was nothing around. There was not an elephant. There was not a bird. It was quite sad. So maybe that's it. Maybe the tech gremlins are saying, well, we can't start just yet. We'll wait for some animals to arrive. Here we are. And here we go. A couple of you are jumping on board and saying hello. I know it's a Friday. I bet everyone's excited for the weekend. So hopefully there are a few more of you that are procrastinating about work. And Jive Bunny, you've said, good morning from a chilly UK, and you prefer to be in South Africa right now. I don't blame you. Not even the slightest. And then Catherine, you said, nice to have some company while I pretend to work. I feel like you've mastered the art and you should probably start a YouTube channel on how to watch Wild Earth without getting caught by your bosses. I mean, that would probably do quite well. And who knows, maybe you generate such a huge revenue from all the videos that you put on that you won't need to work. You won't have to pretend anymore. I'm just teasing, of course. But hopefully the Ellies will also go in and have a swim. It looks like the young elephant calf that's just moving to the right-hand side of the screen, not afraid to dip its toes into the water and straight down, or face plunging, should I say, into the water. There we go, because using that trunk is not an easy thing to do when you're that small. And this just gives you an idea of how many elephants are actually here. Caitlin Boss, you said good afternoon from a lovely hot day in Australia. Well, that's good to hear that it is nice and toasty. We are just dealing with a lot of wind in the low veld at the moment and the northwestern parts of Mpumalanga. But in Madikwe, which is in a different province, the northwest, and quite far north in the country too, it doesn't look like there's very much wind at all. A gentle breeze, but not the gusts that we're experiencing. And at some point, we'll pop over to Juma just so that you can see how windy it is. But I suspect that Jamala and later when the AfriCam cameras join us, we'll have access to the Tau camera, which is also a Madikwe, might steal the show, as the other locations could be a little bit on the windy side. So we're going to just have to pick very, very carefully. There's another little elephant. There's so many of them. Desperately trying to keep up with mom.
When we started our donation drive on the 28th of December, we'd hoped to raise $15,000 for critically needed technical equipment. Your generosity has seen us raise more than $50,000 from 400 amazing supporters. Needless to say, we're overwhelmed and massively grateful. Two incredible viewers, GC and Bramble1, donated $5,000 and $15,000 respectively. Our profound thanks to each and every one of you.
My goodness, these elephants are just going round and round and round. But look at how unappetizing the water looks at Jamala. Not particularly nice. I don't know how much rain has actually fallen in this area, but it does look like it needs to be topped up. But there are limitations as to how much water will be held in this particular water hole. It's not an area that has been dammed. It's a depression in the ground. The elephants will aid in digging it deeper and deeper. The more and more they go into it and splash around. However, if it does flood, the water will just eventually find the lowest lying area and gravity will do its thing and it will all kind of funnel off. So, water systems like this will become more putrid quicker. It also depends on how many animals are, of course, are visiting this particular water source in one day. And because we are here almost every single day, I feel like there's been very few uh, times where we haven't been able to spend any time at Jamala. There's just elephant after elephant, and then the buffalo come in, and of course there's a bunch of other animals that will defecate and urinate in here. But the elephants really do trump the numbers of the other animals, and with the amount of feces that elephants produce in one day, it's only natural that it's going to start turning like this. So I imagine that in order to try and rectify all the algae that's building up here, there needs to be a torrential downpour. A good 50, 60 mils of rain would do this waterhole some good. And it's just interesting because the elephants aren't spending too much time at it. I don't necessarily think it's got anything to do with the quality of the water, because if they're thirsty, they're going to drink regardless. I don't know how far away the next waterhole is. Um, and there's obviously water that's being pumped into the water hole because those three elephants are fiddling away with their trunks at the small opening of the pipe. So, yeah, goodness, I'm not sure what's up with the Ellies. Maybe not hot enough. Maybe they don't want to have a swim. Perhaps they're going to come back a bit later. And then leopard lover, you said that Caitlin, who commented and said that it's a lovely hot day in Australia, but you said that you and Caitlin live near one another in Perth, and you said it's quite funny because it's one of the most isolated cities on earth, yet you've both found wild earth. You know what I find really funny? I can't remember who I spoke about this to somebody. I think it was yesterday, and we were just discussing, Wild Earth and just how fantastic it is that, you can get your safari fix anytime you want, really. Because if there's no live shows on, of course, the website or the app, their YouTube channel is filled with safari content, wildlife content. Um, but how few South Africans actually knew what Wild Earth or Safari Live was even, that it even existed so many years ago, and that the bulk of the viewers were, in fact, from all over the world, but rather than from our country. And now, obviously, since the pandemic, everyone in South Africa knows what Wild Earth is. Not maybe not everybody, but a lot of people are watching it, which is funny to say. So I'm not shocked that you found one another. Uh, and have you guys met up? Have you had a watch party together? Because I hear that that's a thing that a lot of people like to do. Get together, have some drinks, some snacks, and watch Wild Earth. I'm assuming more so the sunset and sunrise safaris, but that's exciting though. So Gwen is directing. You're all very familiar with Gwen, and she was saying that she's never been to a watch party before. But Gwen, you are the watch party. You're there. You've the like first line of defense. The first and well, the not first line of defense. I don't know why I said that. I've been watching too many action movies. But you guys are everyone that directs and produces the show, and the technical teams, the engineers, and everybody that's making sure that the feeds are doing what they're supposed to. You guys are the watch party. So theoretically, I feel like you're the original watch party. But yeah, it's such a nice thing to do. I know there's quite a few. For quite a few hospitals, and there's lots of schools that join and watch this. I know retirement homes will sometimes put this on. in one of the public spaces, and people will watch you. You won't believe how many times I've sat down at restaurants and then WildEarth is playing in the background. Sometimes it will be like an old episode, and then I'll see me driving around. And I'm like, hey, my hair was really short. That must be from years ago, or whatever the case is. So it's everywhere. Really, it is, which is not a bad thing, of course. That's fantastic. And then Starbuck, you've also jumped on board. You've said hello from a very humid Durban. Starbuck, can you give us an update on what's going on with the flooding? I'm assuming that the rain has now stopped. If you're saying that it is so humid, has the water subsided? Um, I honestly have. I am honestly the worst South African ever. I know more about what's going on in the rest of the world than I do my own country. I like to live in my little safari bubble that nothing is wrong in South Africa here in Hoedspruit. It's very different a piece of the country. So a bit of an argument around the main source of water, this big bull, just sorting out a bunch of youngsters, telling them to get out of his way. Let's see what he's going to do with this youngster. Oh, he's pushing everyone out the way. And naturally, sorry, sorry everyone, Tucker got a fright. He was fast asleep and then jumped up and started barking. My goodness. I got such a fright. I need a moment from that. Now I have no idea what I was telling you about. Oh, I was saying that young elephants are so funny, or just young animals in general. They don't quite understand social cues. Like this elephant bull is telling everybody to move away, especially these slightly older individuals. He's saying, like, get lost, keep away. And that young elephant's like, well, I'll just stand below your feet. It's the same thing when a pride of lions are feeding on a carcass and their young cubs. Even though they get growled at and sometimes they get pawed in the face and shooed off, they still get their heads stuck in there and devour. They have no understanding of a hierarchy. God, he's doing a good job at keeping everyone away. Look at that little elephant just sneaking in. Every time he steps back, he's like, oh, it's my chance now. There's some more young elephants coming in. Can you imagine these these other bulls that are trying to get in, just looking, going, why is he not chasing the small ones away? But perhaps he just doesn't see them really as a threat and that they're going to consume as much water. But even watch his behavior too. This cow that's just standing on his right. When she first approached, his tail stiffened and actually moved in her direction, so off to the right hand side. So he's still not 100% happy with her. And look how he's pushing her out of the way with his body, kind of changing the angle a little bit, also keeping an eye out to the left. So it doesn't always have to be, well, bulls don't always behave in these aggressive, boisterous ways. I think it really just depends on a situation. And let's see how patient this cow is going to be. If she's going to linger around, or if she's just going to eventually just move on into the other parts of the water and drink from there. Catherine, you've said you wonder how many countries um, and well, people from different countries are watching today. I have no idea, but that would be wonderful to figure that all out. And then Honey Badger, you said morning, Taylor and Tucker, and you hope that my dog, that Tucker, is feeling better. He's a bit sick. I have no idea what's wrong with him. He keeps getting the same illness over and over, and I think it's got something to do with his gut. I don't know if there is an imbalance. So he's obviously got the best vets in the world trying to figure it all out. So we'll see how that goes. Look at this big, even bigger elephant bull coming in. this young elephant defending the pipe. But you can see he didn't pay anyone any attention, not even the little one, just because of his sheer size and the way that he walked on through. Everyone kept out of his way. Now, something else that I'm looking at, can you notice, can we zoom in a little bit on this big elephant bull that's drinking? The reason what I want to do is I want to check between his back legs, because immediately I can notice it looks like there's some staining. So we're going to zoom on in there. Because I can already see that he's secreting heavily from his temporal gland. So that's a gland behind his eye. You can see there's a stream of dark fluid. That's called temporin. And now I just want to just double check. Let's see. Is he just excited? Has he had something happen to him? But I'm looking at the way that it looks like there's almost some kind of liquid that's dribbled down the inside of his leg. Can you see the difference between the back left leg and his front left leg? Notice the color difference. Wet at the back and dry at the front. And then also look on his right foot. You see how it's also quite dark around where his toes are. So he's secreting, or he's not secreting, sorry, he's dribbling urine at the moment. So this kind of confirms just by looking at these pieces of evidence, but specifically the staining between his back leg, that he is in fact in must. Now, we would all be able to smell it if we were sitting on the deck at Jamala admiring the elephants. But that's also maybe why everybody moved out of his way so quickly, is that, and I know we talk about must a lot, and I'm sure you're all sick of hearing it, but there's just no new information about must that's come out just yet. So until there is new research, we have to just keep repeating the same things. I, of course, am not a scientist, and most certainly not studying something like must in elephants. But I wonder, with the amount of testosterone that's coursing through his veins, and obviously other elephant bulls and cows, associating bulls in must, with being less tolerant, they have this sort of heightened, stressed energy about them. They haven't been eating as often as they do because they're being pushed or driven, to walk around and find cows that are in estrus. So everybody's just moved off and given him his room. And that young elephant calf, even though it's unlikely that a big elephant bull is going to attack and kill a younger elephant, he's just going to be less tolerant of things that he'd normally not be bothered by. So it's a good thing that that young bull actually just moved off and gave him space. And even now, as the other bull to the left of him kind of encroaches, he's definitely a lot more tolerant than the bull that was here first. Let's see. Maybe he's just one of those fellas that's quite happy to share.
We all know the struggle of finding the perfect gift. But what if you could give them an unforgettable experience? Something truly extraordinary. Introducing Nature Eye. Fly a real drone remotely at iconic locations, witnessing the beauty of nature like never before. Sign up to be an explorer and you could win one of these experiences yourself. Visit natureeye.com today.
Oh, elephants are just having a fantastic time. Right, there's a couple of really wonderful questions coming through, and one of them is from Pete in the UK. And I'm actually really sorry that I haven't spoken about the differences between what I'm about to repeat. So, Pete, you said, could I please explain the differences between high and low felt? I'm sure you have heard the word low felt said, oh, I don't even know. I must say it about 100 times in 2 hours. And then, of course, you probably won't hear us talking too much about the high felt. So let me quickly go through the differences between them, and hopefully that will sort of help you. And again, like you see, sometimes we just speak about these things all the time that we forget. I forget. I shouldn't speak on behalf of everyone. That not everybody understands the meaning or the terms between them. But essentially, we use the words high felt and low felt to describe two different geographical regions. So the low veld, for the most part, is areas of Limpopo, Mpumalanga. I think it also extends a little bit further west, so towards where Madikwe is, although Madikwe might be a combination. But anyways, we'll start with the high fault. So some of the things that will pretty much make or are the deciding factors between whether you call an area high fault or low fault. It's got to do with the altitude, of course, the climate, and then naturally what type of vegetation occurs there. So a high fault is a higher altitude plateau, so that kind of makes sense. And if I'm not mistaken, it's normally between. Oh, I think 1,000, maybe a bit more than that. Maybe let's do 1,200 and about 1,800 meters above sea level. For those of you that know feet, it's sort of between 3,500 and 5,900 feet. Those are just sort of rough calculations. So that is a big thing. The other thing is that the high fault has got more of a temperate climate. So it's not, you don't get super hot summers and very cold winters. It's kind of a little bit more stable, if you will. So, for example, in the Highveld, you'll have pretty nice summers and not so bad, normally associated with like thunderstorms and things like that. But then the winters can be quite chilly, and then with the vegetation that you'll find in the Highveld, you'll find grasslands is the main thing that sort of, I suppose, describes it best. Maybe a bit of savanna as well, some trees, that type of thing. And this is where a lot of farming is also done. And then with the low felt, these are lower lying areas, the low felt as it describes. So it's normally anywhere between 120 and about 600 meters above sea level. So that's a maximum just under 2,000 feet. So you can see the differences are quite substantial. And then with the climate, so we have a really warm climate. Sometimes it's described as tropical climate or subtropical climate because our summers can be quite humid, but then our winters are mild. So and that's where everybody wants to live in Hoedspruit, to be quite honest, or the surrounding areas, is because we don't really have a winter. The early mornings are freezing and the evenings are cold, but during the day, if there isn't snow on the mountains, you can put shorts and a t-shirt on and run around barefoot, no problem, which is great, right? To be able to do that in winter. So that will be the biggest example. And then of course the Lowveld is famous for its vegetation. It's quite diverse. We've got these sort of Afromontane forests, we've got riverine vegetation, we've got the bushveld, we've got savannas, we've got a little bit of everything. So I hope that that kind of helps. Of course, there's going to be examples, where you'll get high felt and low felt areas kind of, meeting just on the cusp, and then it's always a bit tricky to tell the difference between the two. But I hope, Pete, that helped describe it a little bit better. Go, elephants, go, swim. Look at this one. Looks like it's stuck, just rolling around on the side. They make me laugh. I think when elephants do this in the water, it's the equivalent of dogs rolling around in the grass, right? You've never seen such a happy dog when it can roll around in grass or mud. Um, but for an elephant, it's quite tricky for them, to flop down into the nice lush grass and be able to move around with ease, just because they're so big and their bones are so heavy. Well, for the most part. But then we look at elephants in water. Oh, it must be such a relief to have some of that weight literally taken off of them, and then they can just move around a bit more easy. I mean, look at this one. They're nimble. Elephants are flexible. I know they're oddly shaped, but they can still get up and down pretty easy. All I know is that if I were to be in the same position of these elephants right now, I don't think I'd be able to stand there. I think I'd slip over and fall onto my face for the most part, and I'd probably have to drag myself out and do a version of doggy paddle to get to the edge where I'd be able to climb out. And elephants slip around on mud all the time. It's actually quite comical. One elephant is done playing now, off it goes, and this other one does not want to get out just yet. Don't chase the birds, leave them. That's so unnecessary. What did they do to you? Those all look like doves. I mean, those doves are minuscule in comparison to the size of elephants, but if anything flies away, runs away quick enough, so I suppose it's natural instinct, right, to give chase. Let's see how gracefully you're going to make it up onto the island. Oh, let's have a look to the left and see what all that commotion is about. If it's the same elephant or if it's some others. Oh, look at the gathering. Oh, look at that tiny little elephant coming out of the bushes now. Oh, it's so small. Ears raised. Someone's in trouble there. Look how the adults are standing sort of motionless. They're sort of swaying from side to side while the youngsters all engage in play, drinking, and chasing doves, apparently. And the little elephants just have no idea what's going on. There's quite a few of them. Looks like there's 4 young calves within this herd. But the really teeny tiny one is right at the back. It was the last one to come in. All flapping their ears furiously. It's probably a combination of trying to cool down and also, with it being summer, there's just so many insects about. So I'm sure that they're probably irritating the the elephant's eyes. So by flapping those ears will also keep those little flying creatures away. Steve Morris, you said that the one elephant looks like a happy elephant. I think all elephants are happy when they're around water. And Catherine, you said that Hoedspruit sounds like the perfect place to live. It is. I mean, it has its pros and cons. It really does. I wonder if there's anyone from Hoedspruit that's watching. Shall I start a debate that gets the whole town riled up? I don't know if I'm allowed to, but I so badly want to. Not in a bad way or anything like that. But Hoedspruit definitely has small town syndrome. And I'm allowed to say this because I'm from a small town, not quite the size of Hoedspruit, but I used to spend also a lot of time in a very well-known beach area, so St. Francis Bay, that type of thing. And I kid you not, St. Francis Bay and Cape St. Francis, although they're slightly different too, they're in the Eastern Cape, those two areas are exactly like Hoedspruit, except one's location's at the beach and the other is in the bush. But the people are the same. The conversations are very similar, just one water themed, one wildlife conservation themed for the most part. And it's just so funny. to see that. I've heard a few people now describing St. Francis, that the people that have come on safari and have been up into this town as the same. So we fight about the same things. There's always debates about whether a big mall should go up. Do we really need to have an international airport? Like all these different types of things. And we all argue, but the thing that I'm most upset about, and I'm going to say it anyways, I can say sorry, is that there is no Woolworths in Hoedspruit. Now, for those of you, you probably have no idea what a Woolworths is. It's like a Mark and Spencer's, if you know what that is, but it's just like one of the best food or grocery store franchises. And we really need one. But this town is in a big divide. Some people want it and some people won't. And when I win the lotto, probably never have that happen. I've probably got more chance of seeing a pangolin riding an elephant. There will be a Woolworths in Hoedspruit. And I'm petty. I'm the worst. I'll make a list of all the people that didn't want to Woolworths here, and they won't be allowed in. I will not let them in. They can go shop elsewhere. I'm just teasing, of course. But anyways, no, Hoedspruit's a wonderful little town. We've got everything that we need. Now, Gwen has also jumped on the bandwagon. She's giggling in my ear, and she said the area that she live in, she was limited by a couple of places which she listed. And Gwen, those places you just mentioned, we also only have those. So yeah, so it's just quite funny, but you can understand why people want to protect, the small towns surrounding these beautiful wilderness areas, right? And that fear of getting too big. But as long as the populations keep growing, we have to expand, right? And the best thing about living where we live in Hoedspruit in the Lowveld is that we have limitations as to where we can expand because a lot of them are protected areas, which is amazing. So I love that. I love that about Hoedspruit. Missy, you've said that you love the show and the elephants splashing. Absolutely. I don't think that there's one person out there who says that watching elephants swim and cavort around water, uh, makes them sad. It's a quick way to put a smile on your face. It's always a feel-good moment when you watch elephants playing around. I'm just glad now that everyone's settled down slightly and taking turns drinking from the water pipe. No more big bulls causing trouble. Although I say this, and that big elephant bull that was in Must, we really wasn't causing any trouble at all. And in fact, it was the younger bulls uh, that all scattered when they saw him because they know if they cause too much trouble while he is around, he's going to be the one that gives them a hiding. And again, he's not going to be as tolerant as he normally is, and that the repercussions might be more severe. But here we go. Some cars are coming in now, so they might just shuffle the order a little bit. And then Sarah from the UK, who said, "Do Tesco supermarkets stretch as far as South Africa?" No, we don't have any Tesco's. We're actually really lucky in South Africa with our produce, although it's not like we South Africa keeps the A grade produce. A lot of the stuff is exported. I'm going to just because I'm seen as I'm in Hoedspruit and I'm talking about it. There's a lot of fruit that is grown in this area, and Hoedspruit is also known for its mangoes. My goodness, mangoes are unbelievable. And I just saw that one of the farms nearby is selling mangoes, a specific brand called Sunset something. I don't know. And I am now going to literally after the show ends, I kid you not, I'm packing Tucker into the car and I'm driving. It's probably going to be like a 25, 30-minute drive. I'm going to drive and get these mangoes that apparently you just squeeze and they burst out of their skin. Can't wait. So we're very spoiled. So normally at this time of the year, we just eat lots of pineapples, lots of mangoes. There's lychees or lychees, depending on how you say them. We are very, very spoiled. So we get some of the best fruits, well, depending on what fruit we're growing, right here in Hoedspruit. We can buy it directly from the farmers, which is great. Although I'm sure elephants would love to get hold of a mango here and there.
We all know the struggle of finding the perfect gift. But what if you could give them an unforgettable experience? Something truly extraordinary. Introducing Nature Eye. Fly a real drone remotely at iconic locations, witnessing the beauty of nature like never before. Sign up to be an explorer and you could win one of these experiences yourself. Visit natureeye.com today.
Gosh, it's just a never-ending pool party. And there we go. That elephant is cheering me on. We'll keep doing all kinds of elephant things. This is wonderful. It's so crazy though, as I sit and watch the elephants and the trees, and then I look up and I look outside, and it feels like I'm on a ship because it's very still and calm on the screen that I'm looking at, and then It's so bizarre just to see the trees. Basically, most of the trees are blown over sideways. It's actually ridiculous. Watching all the washing on the line as well. Good kite flying weather. Feel like I'm back in the Eastern Cape. Yay. And these two elephants on the right having a bit of a tussle. You can see, I imagine the elephant on the right, maybe, are they a similar size? Or does the one on the right look a little bit smaller? We'll see when it stands up. Taking advantage of that elephant lower down on the ground, and pushing and shoving. And they just get these bursts of energy. You'll see them. They're so cool, calm, and collected. And then as soon as those toes touch the water, all chaos ensues. And then they're just rolling around and flapping their ears and twisting their trunks and flopping down, then standing up and pushing and shoving. It's great fun. And I can only imagine that these younger elephants learn a lot at these water holes. It's obviously important to have social interactions with other herds of elephants too, although for the most part they're going to associate with members of their own herd. But they get to meet different elephant bulls. They learn how to play. They start to have an understanding of hierarchy. Look at this little elephant following this big bull around. It's just the sweetest thing ever. One day, yes, maybe one day you'll be that big. But a long road ahead of growing, though. Look at them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little elephants all standing next to one another. And something that I haven't experienced in ages, and I'm missing it so much. And for those of you that have never come on a safari before, I hope that if you have the opportunity to experience Africa in real life, anywhere in Africa, that you have the chance to spend some time with elephants and you have that encounter where you're almost certain to go viral after posting a video of young elephants that charge the vehicles. You know, when they're so small and they don't quite understand what the cars are, but all the other elephants don't really react to them, but you're not so sure about them just yet. And they run towards you and trumpet. And oh, it's just my favorite thing in the whole wide world. That for me is the best elephant therapy in the world. It's just like whatever emotions you were feeling in that moment of time are thrown straight out the window, and you're just filled with happiness and you laugh, and just it's just such a feel good moment. And I need that in my life. I think everybody needs that in their life. If you could just have that 3 times a year, I think we'd all be much happier people. HMLOL, is it lol? Am I saying it correctly? You said Cape Town is sweltering hot at the Ellie pool party. Looks like it looks so inviting. You're welcome. You're welcome to hop on a plane and come and join them. Although you're going to be restricted to the deck at Jamala in Madikwe Game Reserve, but that would be a really good spot too. Has anyone actually gone over and had a look and checked out Jamala and just seen how beautiful the camp is? I'd be happy to sleep on a stretcher bed outside and on the deck, but that wouldn't be safe, of course, with all the predators that are around. But imagine sitting quietly even at nighttime on the deck and just listening, because the elephants will swim at any time of the day. But just listening to them splashing around with your eyes closed, staring up at the stars. Goodness, there's a bucket list activity to add to your list. can we actually have a wide view of the waterhole? I just want to see what's going on because it seems like most of the breeding herds have moved off. I think they've moved off to the left-hand side where they a lot of them go. I just want to see what we're dealing with at the moment. Who's left here? Okay, so it looks like okay, they've got two bulls having a tussle, testing one another's strength. And that's it. And then just a couple of stragglers staying behind. That's perfect. I'm sure we'll get more and more elephants making their way down. I love these two big bulls, though, below us. They're like a perfect mirror image of one another. So you can see they're sussing out what they're going to do. Who's going to make the next move? Who's going to step forward first? There we go. It's like the ready position. And you can hear that clash of the tusks. And when elephant bulls have a proper fight, which is, again, I've said this before, it's not something that you see very often. Again, and some guides could go their entire guiding career without seeing a serious elephant fight or fight between two elephant bulls. And when they clash their tusks, that sounds like gunshots. It's it's insane. It's a very jarring sound, and it can be heard from quite a distance away. This, of course, is not the case. They're just testing each other's strength, and I suppose between the two of them, deciding who is the more dominant individual at the waterhole at this current moment in time. I'm just going back to animals fighting. I see that Jive Bunny, you've said that the worst sound for you was hearing giraffes clashing their necks together. Yeah, that's also quite something. Um, Once again, not a behavior that you see all the time with a serious giraffe. We see lots of sparring amongst the various animal species, but that is also quite intimidating. And it's it's very different because when we look at giraffe fighting, for the most part, it's very slow. And it looks like it's in slow mo, right? They're not doing anything with the word that I'm looking for now. Why does my brain do this? I need to eat like or get in more omega-3 oils of some kind. Anyways, oh, drives me crazy that I do this all the time. But yeah, like not putting in too much effort, and it doesn't look very coordinated. And then as soon as they do start fighting, you see that they move with precision, and it's a very different story. I will see these bulls though constantly just keep tussling. The tusks will clash a little bit. You'll see they'll shove their heads forward. The trunk will go on top of the other one's head. Sometimes they stick their trunks in each other's mouths. And that's just the interesting thing about elephant behavior is that we can look at something, a behavior specifically, and it can end up meaning so many different things depending on the situation. And that's why it's so important to also, as if there are any of you that are budding guides or even just nature enthusiasts, if you want to understand elephant behavior, is read up about it. And then this is a great show to sit and then watch and have a good opportunity of seeing that behavior play out right in front of you. I love comments like this. King of pain. I don't know where you are, but you said wherever you are, it's minus 22. I'm assuming that's degree Fahrenheit. And you've said that there is a dude, a man, a person, I suppose that's gender neutral term, dude, right? Wearing Crocs and even with socks, just got their toes out and exposed to the freezing cold. I feel like this person is probably a South African, especially as a farmer, a boer, or somebody that lives in the low veld. It makes me chuckle all the time. You know how we obviously stereotype when it comes to people with everything, really, but with people specifically. There's a very funny video that was on the internet a while ago. This guy traveling to I think he was going to Antarctica. Of course, I didn't think that word was going to be a tongue twister today. And he went in his khaki clothing, his boots, his long socks, his shorts, and his shirt tucked into his pants with a belt. And everyone around him is standing in thermal wear, big puffer jackets, snow boots. And there he is, sock tan and all. It always makes me chuckle. So, King of Pain, if you were to come to South Africa and specifically Hoedspruit in winter, you'll know it's cold when you see somebody that works as a farmer or as a safari guide when they're wearing two pairs of shorts. It's freezing, basically.
"2024 is here, and it's sure to be our best year yet. Come along and join us on the 21st of January for a company update town hall that's open to all registered viewers. We will update our viewers on where we are, discuss what's to come in the new year, and answer any questions. Watch it live on the WildEarth app. WildEarth, connecting with nature.
Okie dokie. What we're going to do now is we're going to take a break from the elephants and we're going to go across to Juma and see if the wind is still persisting. Yup, the answer is very much yes. So you only see the camera shake a little bit. And you can hear the wind as it howls. And I'm actually just going to very quickly check one of the very many weather apps that are on my phone. For those of you that know me, I have to delete them because I obsess over weather and I love watching storms roll in on um, the maps and or seeing the satellite imaging of storms is just unbelievable. And I think the wind is going to subside and it's going to end this evening, and then on the weekend I don't think we're going to have too much wind, which is quite nice. So I'm not sure what it was like on the sunrise safari today. Were there lots of animals? If you were watching, if you weren't, you should be. But a lot of the time wind can affect animals as they don't like to really be out in it. There we go. So Gwen was saying that there was mainly just impalas on the sunrise safari. Yep, that is probably because of the wind. So I'm going to quickly talk about how wind is formed, because I think, again, we talk about wind, we talk about temperatures, we talk about climate, but what actually, how is it created? So wind is obviously super important for a number of different reasons. But if you've ever wondered and you can't remember what your geography teacher told you in high school about wind, I'm basically going to repeat it. So if there wasn't a sun, well, there wouldn't be a lot of things, but there'd definitely be no wind. So the sun basically heats the earth, but not in an even matter. It's kind of heats it unevenly, right? So some places naturally get more sunlight, whereas others don't. And this creates hot and cold air in different areas. And this is actually something important to understand, especially if you're a budding safari guide. These kinds of questions typically pop up in exams. Not that you'll necessarily ever talk about it to guests, unless someone says to you, just has an epiphany going, I don't even know why there's wind around, then maybe you can talk about this. But essentially, when air gets hot, it rises, as we all know, making it a low pressure area. And then when the air gets cold, it sinks, which then turns it into a high pressure area. When you have high pressure cells, that normally means good weather. When you have low pressure cells, that typically is bringing bad weather around. So the air moves from high pressure areas to low pressure areas. But there's, of course, a twist, because nothing is simple. As you all know, the earth is spinning, right? So the spinning makes the air move around in a curve. And in the northern hemisphere, it curves to the right, and then down in the southern hemisphere, which is where we are, it curves to the left. And that curving basically creates the wind. So there we go. Short and sweet. That's how wind is formed. Very simple, just like that. But there's a lot of it at the moment everywhere. But I think also with the flooding that happened in Durban not too long ago, so coming from the east coast of South Africa, that this is just sort of the tail of it, because we didn't get much rain at all, but we were kind of left with a lot of wind. And thankfully, the bush is nice and green. Otherwise, we'd all be worried about fires. Wind like this at this time of the year, or actually, yeah, because we haven't had much rain, is a bit scary. But thankfully, the vegetation is lovely and lush at the moment. Oh my goodness, Sandra, you said you're watching from the office in Cape Town, and um, earlier HMLOL said that it is sweltering hot in Cape Town, but I didn't quite understand how hot it was. But Sandra, you said it's 34 degrees Celsius. My goodness. It's basically like you're in Hoedspruit now. But how great. I hope that you'll get the chance, or that the weather sticks around for the weekend, Sandra, and you're able to enjoy the beautiful coastline that's right on your doorstep. And then, Catherine, just going back to seeing people behaving or dressing strangely in various weather conditions, you said that you've seen people in shorts in below zero temperatures. And next time you see them, you're going to ask them if they're from South Africa. Yeah, not Johannesburg or Cape Town or any of those places. It's got to be specifically from the provinces of Mpumalanga or Limpopo, maybe even the Free State. The farmers there are tough, rugged. It's very funny. And then I'm sure you've seen us with us as naturalists as well. We're so stubborn when we're on the live safaris. We're sitting there and it's freezing cold and we're whinging as we drive around and we've got gloves on, we've got beanies, 4 jackets, but we're still in shorts. We can't help ourselves. It's who we are. It's part of being a guide. Oh, okay. And then Gwen has just mentioned on the sunrise safari, just I was talking about how there wasn't much that was seen. Apparently, you got a glimpse of Molwati, who's one of the resident male leopards. You saw his tail. Well, that's always nice. You don't typically see him out and about during the day. At least you know where to start for the sunset safari when you have a better chance of seeing him. At this point, I'm not sure if it's elephants feeding on the trees, making them sway, if it's just the wind. Of course, it's just the wind. But I was hoping that we could maybe find some birds, but we're not winning. The butterflies seem to be coping perfectly well. And yes, thank you all of you for asking about my caterpillar update. Not one person has asked about how my caterpillars are doing. Upset. Uh, they are good. They're growing. There's a lot of them now, and I'm stressed that Hoedspruit doesn't have enough lemon trees. So I might have to find and ask around town who's got really big established lemon trees, and maybe relocate some of the caterpillars that I have. But anyways, I'll cross that bridge. But if you're from Hoedspruit and you're watching and you've got a lemon tree, please let me know. Can I bring you some citrus swallowtail caterpillars? So Gwen is wondering how on earth am I growing my caterpillars? So you might have heard a helicopter go over. Always a helicopter flying around here. Well, the butterfly laid the eggs on the tree, and honestly, somebody asked me the other day, why do I have the caterpillars, and did I buy the lemon trees just for the caterpillars? And the answer to that is yes. It's as simple as a friend of mine had citrus swallowtail caterpillars on her tree, and she didn't want them, and was going to get rid of them, not in a bad way, but just put them somewhere else. But the thing is that not all caterpillars, so the larval stage of butterflies and moths, can eat all plants. Some of them are very much host specific. So they might only have one plant that they eat, or you might have some, that have 5 or 6. And then, of course, there are some species that eat, their host, the host species for the caterpillars is quite large. But it's not always the case with the citrus swallowtail butterfly. So I was like, okay, well, we'll get lemon trees and then we'll take it from there. So that's how I ended up with them. And I'm so happy because it's been a lifelong dream of mine. This is how easy I am to impress. Just take note that I can now rear caterpillars. I'd like a full-on caterpillar room, but an outside room with just different types of trees, maybe some milkweed plants, uh, which we have lots of. There's a type of milkweed called the trellis vine. It's a common name, and that's growing all over. Have some monarchs coming back and all sorts.
Life is more colorful with a zebra by your side. Join us as we celebrate one of Africa's most distinctive mammals on World Zebra Day. Revisit our greatest sightings whilst we spot all things black and white on safari. Grace, strength, resilience. Stay tuned and connect with nature.
My goodness. What bird do we have sitting on the tree? I cannot believe this. It's the miners. It's the common miners. Yesterday, if you were watching live at the Waterhole for the first half, I was talking about the miners, and we had quite a cool sighting. Was it yesterday? No, it was the day before, not yesterday. Sorry, on Wednesday, we had a great sighting of the miners that were alarming at a monitor lizard, and then the Egyptian geese came in to check. And I can't say that I've ever seen miners at Juma before. So there is a pair of them, and I'm assuming that they've made this waterhole their home now. I do see them in Hoedspruit quite often, but then again, I also didn't really see them across the road on Pridelands. So, anyways, I wonder if they're nesting around here, because this is now. Well, I suppose we're just going to follow them and see what they kind of get up to. But I mean, let me just go back and do the whole thing. So I always forget. I'm like, oh, sometimes there's new people who are watching, and then I've only told a small portion of the story, so I suppose it's okay to tell it again. The reason why I'm always like, a little bit concerned about these birds is that they're not native to South Africa. They were introduced a very long time ago. It's like in the 19th century, towards the end of it. But they were released from a tram on the East Coast, so in Durban. And these birds were basically arriving as pets of people that were coming from India. And then anyways, they've since found them home, and they've traveled far and wide. I mean, it's quite a long time, right? So naturally, they would have dispersed, as populations would have grown, and miners are hardy, tough, resistant birds. Yeah, goodness. But anyways, hopefully it's not too many more of you, and we can keep the populations down. I know there's a lot of divide, with them being around here. A lot of people are concerned that they're going to take over and push out bird species, but anyways, I suppose they've made this place their home now. And we haven't got long, but we have to introduce all the AfriCam cameras, which is very exciting. So we're gonna be able to pop on and visit a bunch of different locations now. We'll have access to some more waterholes. So I can't wait to see what we're going to find on the other cameras.